Good evening, listeners. Today we're diving into the courtroom drama that's unfolding in Brooklyn, a courtroom drama they're calling a constitutional crossroads. The headline, Judge Sets June 2027 Trial Date for Nicolás Maduro, Captured Venezuelan Leader, is a headline that makes the world stare, and there's a lot to unpack. In January this year, the U.S. military executed a raid on a Caracas compound that led to the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores. Since that raid, the couple has been held in a Brooklyn jail and has pleaded not guilty to the charges laid against them. The charges are serious: conspiracies to commit narcoterrorism and import cocaine, along with other, unspecified counts that might be added as the case evolves. Prosecutors on both sides have hobbled in the legal calendar, and this week, federal judge Alvin Hellerstein agreed to a trial date of June 1, 2027, after the defense and prosecution held a private meeting the previous evening. Although that date is far off and still tentative, subject to the outcomes of higher court reviews and the defense's motions, it's a concrete step in a case that has moved at a painstakingly slow pace. Judge Hellerstein has also agreed to a two-stage pretrial process. The first round will see Maduro's legal team argue that he can't be prosecuted by the United States because, as a former head of state, he's sovereign and therefore immune from U.S. jurisdiction. That argument is a standard defense in cases involving foreign dignitaries, but it can be a hard-to-shatter hurdle. If the court accepts the sovereign immunity claim, Maduro wouldn't have to address the indictment's specific allegations. Barry J. Pollock, Maduro's lawyer, told the court that they will be mounting that argument. He also plans to challenge the legality of Maduro's extraordinary capture, arguing that he should continue to enjoy head of state immunity. One twist here is that the U.S. Secretary of State, under the previous administration, repeatedly said that Maduro was not Venezuela's legitimate president. Yet, the U.S. has recognized Delcy Rodriguez, who was vice president under Maduro, as the legitimate head of state. Pollock's strategy is that with the U.S. government's legitimation of Rodriguez, it's evidence that Maduro was never removed or deposed, thus, he remained the rightful leader. Should these sovereign immunity arguments fail, the next phase would involve challenging the content of the indictment itself. The prosecution accuses Maduro of corrupting Venezuela's government so that it could export cocaine globally. The timeline is that the arguments over the indictment's specifics will likely come into play early next year, after the court clears the sovereign immunity hurdle. Maduro's first courtroom appearance was last Wednesday, a brief 15-minute session in which he wore a khaki jumpsuit and shook hands with his lawyers before sitting down with headphones that translate the proceedings into Spanish. He left the courtroom with a tentative wave to the gallery, his hotel in a room but already a global symbol. The case isn't just about one country. It engages international law, extradition protocols, and the delicate question of whether a nation can prosecute a former leader captured on foreign soil. Some observers see it as a test of U.S. commitment to combating drug trafficking, while others see it as a move with political motivations, given the contested legitimacy of Maduro's government. For now, the only firm date is that June 1, 2027. Anything that happens in the interim, in terms of appeals or new legal motions, could shift that halving. And with the possible involvement of the Supreme Court if the sovereign immunity argument bores through, the timeline will likely go through a lot more twists. That's the story in a nutshell: a month-old capture, a looming June 2027 trial, a two-phase pretrial that tackles sovereign immunity first, and a docket that could culminate in a Supreme Court decision. As thrilling and complex as it is, the case will touch on legal principles that are on the front lines of international justice. That's all for tonight. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more as this high-profile case develops.